Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
What a day. What a day to call our friend Clem. What a night, actually. I mean, we didn't record the podcast last night. I don't think it was like an emergency type situation, but like if you're a Mets fan, this is an emergency type situation. Like we've got an absolute stud going to Queens after an entire offseason of speculation. We now know the landing spot for Freddie Peralta. He's going to the Mets. He's going to the Mets. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited for Clem. I'm sure he's anticipating the phone call. But we haven't even gotten like a podcast since the Lubob trade, right?
No. Correct.
That was post Monday?
That's right.
Yeah, that was...
I don't think we should waste any fucking time, guys. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm obviously interested in your takes, but like, this is not a situation where I feel like we talk about it and then we get Clem in here to like break down what we feel. I think we just got to start with Clem.
Just call him right up.
Yeah.
Oh, Rocket.
Victory! Congratulations, Clem. You got Freddie Peralta. You got Lubob. There's rumors about maybe pursuing a Framber Valdez in addition to this. Talk to me. Hey, this is 2 phone calls in a row that we're having a discussion about the Mets, and it is nothing but sunshine and roses.
Life as a Mets fan, because you know what? All those dark days, those days in the upside down, you got to have some sunny days to bring you back in.
That's right.
And we are hooked. I am hooked. All the Met fans out there who were telling me small market Stearns, Casino Cohen only cares about his casino.
Mm-hmm.
David Stearns doesn't like to spend money. Those are gone now. And hope spring's eternal. It doesn't feel like spring outside, but in my heart, spring is coming, and that's all I could possibly ask for right now, Rocket. It feels so good. So good.
It has to feel good. It has to feel good when you give up, top prospects in a trade, but it's for an absolute stud, and you know that your owner understands we have to pay this guy. It's like this isn't over, right? We've acquired the talent. He's here. We have to roll out the red carpet for him so he understands what Mets culture is all about. And the fans, I'm sure once he gets out there, no disrespect to Brewers fans, it's kind of like it's a different flavor. I think Brewers fans, especially when they close the roof over there, it gets really loud, and they're great baseball fans. But playing for the Mets is it's a completely different experience. It's an alternate universe. Like the fans are super passionate, but what comes along with being a Met fan is just something that if you're not a part of it, or if you're not at least paying attention to their culture, it's very hard to explain to someone that's not familiar. Do you think that this is a long-term thing, Clem? Like, is Freddie Peralta going to be your guy moving forward?
For all the talk about Stearns and the length of the contract, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I know the 6 years, 4 years, and he's kind of made a hard stand at 3. One, hopefully there'll be more clarity on the work on the labor situation, in the next year, which I think could affect that. But I think he kind of loves them. I always like when a GM goes to a new team and the guys he gets from the old team are the guys he must really like if he can get them. And obviously he got his hands on him and Tobias Meyer. So I'm like, all right, he kind of likes those 2 guys. And I think, why not? I think if we're talking about the Mets potentially going after like a screwball in the future, I think Peralta could be maybe the 2, and then we're going to have a whole bunch of young arms under cheap control for a few years here, potentially to fill out a lot of the rotation. And then it could be Screwball they go after. Peralta's the fallback, or he, maybe tries to get both. I mean, I'm sure the Dodgers are going to get somebody along the way here because they're the Dodgers, even though they don't have any more rotation spots. So I'm not like expecting an extension, but I'm not going to be surprised at all if it happens, especially, thank God, Jared, I do not have to deal with Scott Boras with these negotiations, because if Boras was the agent, I wonder if that does change their thinking, knowing he's going to want to get to free agency. It sounds like this agency is very open to getting extensions done. I believe they were even David Wright's agency when he was playing for the Mets. So I think everyone's going to want to get it done. And based on the few videos I've seen of Freddie Peralta off the field, an absolute delight. A delight, Jared.
Yes.
We're going to try to break him. Not me personally, but us Mets fans, one of, your former coworkers, my current coworker, I'm sure the first, walk he gives up, he'll have 17 different nicknames for him and how he's the worst signing and will never throw a strike the rest of his career. But that guy is it's addicting. Just this guy is dancing around. He's hosting people at his house during day games at home. Just seems like everything us Mets fans need, like a bright dose of sunshine, basically, in our lives.
He is. How do you feel about the package that was given up? Is there anything in there that hurts? Particularly, obviously, there's top prospects involved.
Yeah, it hurts. These are always going to hurt when you're giving up the big prospects, even if the name coming back is big as well. After Lou Bob came, and listen, La Pantera is awesome, but I like Lou Bob. It's just so easy. I don't even think Lou Bob likes Lou Bob, but I like Lou Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Once that signing went down, I was like, you know what? If he does leave or struggles, like, what's Jet looking like right now? So I went on his Fangraphs page, and I kind of just fell in love with him all over again, looking at his numbers and everything. And again, the name Jet Williams screams big leaguer who's going to do stuff. Mm-hmm. And Sproat, I liked Sproat last year. Sproat Goat, he struggled when it comes to games, but it was when the defense had truly just given up at that point of the season. So I think he's the one who needs a good defense behind him, and they did not provide that. So, it hurts. But the thing is, and this is the biggest thing when it comes to Stearns and Uncle Stevie in terms of Stearns with the development, Stevie with the wallet, is we now have the system where these guys are backfilled, or to the point where if you're, talking to people, they're saying Sproat is clearly third on the list behind McLean and Tong. And then you have Christian Scott coming back from Tommy John. You have Santucci coming in. You have like guys in the minors starting to push their way up. And it's, again, you only have so many rotation spots for the guy. So it's like you can move Sproat. And then Jet Williams, it's kind of the same thing. And, I said on the podcast last night, I said, it felt like everything had to go right, including the hard work that went into it to make Dustin Pedroia, the player and the career he had and, the player he became. And it's like, it seems like these shorter guys, it's like they need everything to really just work.
Yep.
And they have potential guys with AJ Ewing coming up. We're going to have Benj in the outfield. Maybe Lewis Robert is here for, another 5 years. So I think that trade did make Jet a lot more expendable. And we do have like 17 guys who can play middle infield as well that are, either on the team or coming up from the minors. So because of that, you developing your farm system doesn't just mean you can bring guys up who can then contribute to your team, but you can then move guys and have a clear conscience about it, saying we have guys either here or that will be here that will be able to take their spot. And then we have the big dog coming in, the known name, in this case, Peralta. So it stinks. I also feel like in a weird way, Jet Williams was like born to be a Milwaukee Brewer. He's their type. Everyone has their type. He is a Milwaukee Brewer, that guy.
Mm-hmm. I love the name. I agree. I completely agree with you on the name. Like that name was born to be a big leaguer. Jay, hey, do you have a question for Clem?
Yeah, I would say what is your actual expectation for Robert next year?
For what?
Luis Robert.
Oh, for honestly, if you give me last year's numbers or the year before's numbers, which were not very good numbers, I could live with it just because I know I'm getting the defense, I'm getting the speed, and I'm getting better than last year's center field. That's not my expectations. I'm not expecting 23. I'm not expecting 24 or 25. I'm kind of expecting the middle. And this is a guy who is a Boris client who, sounds like by all reports is working his butt off to get that payday because the next two free agent classes are not that great. So he could become, a defensive center fielder that can hit the way he hit in 23. That could be the guy who gets the big bucks on the market. Now the Mets have his option next year. So if he does it next year, good for us. And then 2 years from now, he's hitting the market. But I'm expecting kind of the middle because I think if you're expecting 23, you're just setting yourself up for failure. I also completely understand a guy that gets hurt a lot and a guy that will chase pitches is literally Mets fans' kryptonite. Because that guy, our coworker that we talked about, that guy has probably about 17 names I know for Lou Bob that will be there. But I said before April 1st, opening day is March 27th. I'm saying like the end of March, it's going to be coming out like a lion for Lou Bob if he, gets off to the Jose Siri start, we'll call it, for those kind of terms. Because listen, I know they're different players, but it was kind of the same feelings I had with Siri on a much, smaller level because I think Robert has shown a lot more. But I was like, man, this could go great or this could go really wrong. And it went really wrong with him. So I also but this is the thing. I showed my son, a 7-year-old, just really getting into baseball now. I go, this is the guy we got, AJ. And he showed Lou Bob highlights from 23. He honestly thinks we just, picked up the best player in baseball. Because every highlight, he's either, diving into the stands or he's hitting, 450-foot home runs and he's flying like the wind. So the fact that tools are there, it's like, I think you just have to take a chance on talent. Being on a ball club that is not actively losing 100 games with a cheapskate owner in a place like New York where I feel like we have a great clubhouse now. And I think the guys in the locker room, and he's going to look in and he's not going to be even close to the best, ball player on the club. He's going to have Soto there. He's going to have Lindor, Bichette, all these other guys. So, it might be kind of nice for him not to have to be the guy for one.
Yeah. I mean, like I would hate for Lou Bob to be a one-hit wonder in his career. Like that 2023 season, I think people forget how good he was. He almost hit 40 fucking bombs and 40 doubles and had a 130 OPS plus and finished 12th for MVP, Silver Slugger, All-Star, great defender, 5-win player. But I think the one thing that people talk about with him is that he was a product of his environment. We never knew that for sure. Like we never knew, like if you take Lou Bob and you put him on this great team, like what will he become? What does the output look like? But yeah, I think a change. I think he is and has been a change of scenery guy for his entire career, not just like the past few years. His entire career, you look at him and be like, man, what would he be on a team where he's actually motivated to show up and ball out every day? But
and listen, no stones at White Sox fans. Like they were like when the Mets would have free agents, they're like, if we can get this guy off of a terrible franchise like the Mets, when the Wilpons have a team, like we can be able to get something. This Justin Turner kid, we just need to get him out of a place that's not helping him grow. And boom, it blooms into an all-star. So it's like no shots taken, but kind of like as a Giants fan, everyone's saying, oh, Andy Reid, the way everything ended with him and everything ended up all right is the John Harbaugh. Everyone's going to be saying this right now. Look at Andrew Vaughn. He gets out of Chicago. Look what he does last season. And that's the kind of like pie in the sky you're hoping for as a Mets fan, is that kind of progression with Louis Robert, which, I mean, the guy is just a freak of nature. So if any of those things hit, and again, do you know the Mets center fielders last year had a .210 batting average with 7 home runs on the season? We had Jeff McNeil playing center field for us for a chunk of the year last year because we had no better options because Tyrone Taylor couldn't hit, Jose Siri couldn't stay healthy. It was an absolute nightmare. So if like we just get like the baseline of a Louis Robert season, it's crazy enough an improvement, as wild as that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a situation where the Mets offseason started off as they are clearing house. Is this going to be a barren wasteland kind of team? And lo and behold, you got Stearns pulling the trigger on 2 big deals here, and it shouldn't be done, Clem. It shouldn't be done. I want them to go sign Framber. Dallas, you have a question for Clem?
No, I just think what's cool about it, what's cool for Mets fans is this is how quickly things can change. You get excited about the fact that you plug Bo in, right? Everybody's excited about that. Great. We got a middle of the order. We got, what's that?
Did you see the press conference, by the way, Clem?
Asked how long he's going to be here.
Yeah, John
and
Heyman
Bo just said nothing. Looked at his agent.
John Heyman was like, "Hey, the way that your deal is constructed, like, is this going to be like a 1-year deal kind of situation? Because it could be that way." And he like processed the question, didn't say a word, and then looked at his agent, and his agent was like, "Yeah, no, we appreciate the question. Yeah. Anyways, you guys see the Mega Millions last night? Jesus Christ!"
I want it on the record. I want Bo Bichette to opt out of his contract next year because that means he crushed and is going to make even more money on the market. Which again, we could still bring him back. It's acting like Uncle Stevie doesn't want to pay. That was the one thing that became very obvious in all this is He wants to pay. He wants to build a winner. He's embarrassed the way last year went. Like, why should, that's not a bad thing, but yeah, an absolutely absurd question. I wonder if Scott Boras was his agent, if John would have asked that question. That's just my 2 cents.
I can't even believe it.
Thank you,
I can't
John.
even believe it.
I know. It's crazy, man. All right, Clem. Congratulations on Freddie Peralta. And I hope this continues for you. I hope that the next time we call you, it's because the Mets have signed Framber Valdez. I hope that's why we get to do it.
Let's do this again soon, Phil. Let's do it again early and often. I'll take these calls with a smile on my face anytime. So love you guys, and can't wait to listen to everything.
All right.
See
Love you,
Clem.
Clem. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
That's Clem. Clem Report on Twitter. We got to believe the Mets pod. It's, yeah. How do you, what were your reactions? When I saw it, I guess I was a little, like, I shouldn't have been surprised that it was the Mets because obviously they have what it takes to get him. I just was a little, I didn't think it was going to be the Mets for whatever reason. I don't know. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, well, we knew, and this all goes back to the assessment I made when the departure of their, I'm not going to call them their core four, but the departure of the 4 longest tenured Mets started to trickle out, right? And Mets fans, they can deny it if they want, they can accept it, but they were not happy. They were not happy. There were some Mets fans who totally understood the landscape and realized, look, we're not getting the production that we needed within this group. They're a part of that group. And if it means that we can make a move, we can shift what we've got going on here, and they're the reasons that allow us to do so, then so be it. They got to leave town. So for every Mets fan that was happy about Pete Alonso leaving or understood it, there were Mets fans who want Pete Alonso back because they understood what he was going to provide in the middle of that lineup. With all that being said, I referred to those players moving as the pig portion of the Polanco signing, which was the lipstick, right? Okay, hey, we've watched all of these guys leave town for various reasons, and that's not ideal, but there can be levels of reasoning and understanding that comes along with each and every one of their departures. How do we replenish that? What's the response? A Jorge Polanco at the time. And I was crazy enough, boys. I was always under the impression that the offseason started and ended somewhere between like the end of the World Series, and then I think the offseason like ends in November, somewhere around that. But lo and behold, Polanco ended up signing in December. So wouldn't you know it, the offseason actually extends further. And now here we are. It's January. It's still the offseason. Believe it or not, it is still the offseason, which means there's still time for things to change. And we all knew that. And now this deal, you just heard Clem get excited to the point where he's talking about Skubal. He's aimed the arrow at Skubal. And that's what a Freddie Peralta signing can do for you, is you start to really get a sense of coming out of the winter with a hell of a lot more hope, as Clem referred to multiple times, rays of sunshine beaming down upon you. And the Mets offseason, for the departure of their 4 studs, their 4 faithful, I'll call them, has turned quite a corner. Quite a corner. I mean, what is this now? 9 acquisitions through trade and free agency that have completely changed the complexion of this team? Right? And you went and got your frontline starter that you needed. You absolutely needed help in that rotation. Had to have help in that rotation. Check that box. Adding Freddie Peralta now gives you, he is the second youngest pitcher in that rotation behind the young stud McLean. And you've got bullpen help. You've got guys that can play defense. You've got the Lou Bob acquisition. I mean, they've checked just about every box that they were aiming to check.
Luke Weaver.
And doesn't it feel a hell of a lot different today than it did right after the departure of the last one of the faithful 4?
Devin Williams.
Yeah, I mean, Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, you plug in Tobias, and that's the thing about Tobias Myers is the fact that dude has done and could serve multiple roles. You could see him start. You could see him come out of the bullpen. Like, that's probably where he's coming. But either way, that's a hell of a weapon. That's a hell of a weapon to have if he continues to progress. So, yeah. I think if you're a Mets fan, you got to be very excited about what has transpired here recently, the direction that things are going, regardless of Bo Bichette not being able to answer whether or not his deal is basically just a one-year deal cloaked in a multi-year agreement. Who cares? Like Clem said, if they are entertaining him hitting the free agent market again next year, it's because this year was a success for him individually. If that's the case, you'd like to think collectively they were able to capitalize on that success. And I think Luis Robert, I think we all would agree with this. Like and it happened with the White Sox. Like when Abreu started to take a dive, it felt like that entire team, that entire roster, for whatever reason, just was like in the wind. And this has absolutely been a candidate. You feel like you could have put Luis Robert on 29 other teams, and the change of scenery effect was going to take place. So now he enters a lineup where there's not a ton of pressure per se on him to do the heavy lifting. You just want him to live up to or come close to what you think he's capable of, which we outlined, right? Close to a 40-40 season in terms of homers and doubles. Like that's the kind of power he possesses, but it's a matter of being in a spot that he
We're
can
also
take advantage
3 years
of.
removed from that now, though.
Well, no doubt. And look, and I was gonna say this to Clem. Last year I believe, looking at the numbers, he posted his lowest O swing rate. So in terms of going outside of the zone, chase, whatever, like he's kind of reeled that in a bit. But we're 4 years removed from an even respectable on base percentage. Like you got to find ways to do damage. And if you're not going to be pumping 40 out of the ballpark, are you providing run scoring opportunities for the other guys in the lineup?
I do like your comment. Like, so Peralta, put Peralta to the side for a second. Lou Bob, like part of the reason why I love that deal, and Clem touched on that as much as maybe any transaction of the offseason for what they gave up, is because like you said, he would have made sense on a lot of other teams. I think that's true. And I also think he makes uniquely excellent sense on the Mets. Like they so desperately needed a center fielder on this roster. And Clem said basically this, that even the like diminished version of Luis Robert Jr. is probably a real asset for the Mets, given the shape of their roster right now. And like the other things that Luis Robert Jr. brings other than batting. And I think if you look under the hood, like his swing is such where like, I'm not a swing expert, but intuitively it makes sense to me that with, let's call it a little bit more focus and a little bit more discipline day to day and swing to swing and attention to detail that maybe wasn't happening in Chicago. Like to me, it makes sense that with the bat speed intact and his ability to lift and drive the ball intact, like there is still an echo of the 2023 season that is in the cards for Luis Robert Jr. And that upside to me, like they gave up nothing. They gave up, like, this is the understated element of Steve Cohen's largesse that we've been waiting for him to fully unleash, is that he can basically just say, we are willing to pay $20 million for a guy who was not very good last year, and who, like, we can afford that in a way that the White Sox just decided that they could not. And to me, it's just, it's one of my favorite singular deals. Obviously, the Peralta deal is on its face just excellent and makes their rotation make far more sense in terms of where everybody slots and the responsibilities that different players will hold in that rotation and the depth it builds. But
for $8 million.
Yeah, and like
the biggest hurdle, Jay, the biggest hurdle is going to be them now being able to do enough to make it comfortable enough for him to think, this is where I want to be. And when I say make it comfortable enough, are you going to continue to work to supplement the roster? Are you done here? I mean, we're talking about them kicking the tires on Fromber to whatever extent that that comes to fruition. We'll see. But I think that's where the work has to be done now is, all right, if we're going to have a real shot at keeping him around, we have to show him how serious we are about putting pieces around him or putting pieces within this building moving forward. And again, you can say, well, we just went and spent the money we did on Bichette. So that's a piece that we're looking on keeping around here.
But it could only be
there
1
are
year.
opt-outs that right. There are opt-outs that you have to understand really impact. And that's the other thing is in the pursuit of free agents now, they're hip to other people's contracts. They know what's going on. So you can tell me that you have certain players in place, but then the hypothetical, if I'm Freddie, would be, all right, let's say we go to the NLCS and we fall short and Bo had a great year. Are you interested in bringing him back? Are you interested in being a top suitor again for him? Or if you haven't made a move for Skubal, are your sights set there? Because I'd love to pitch in a rotation with a guy like him and a guy like McLean, who's going to continue to get better. Like, I think we have a real chance of being a three-headed monster, Uncle Stevie. So where are we at there? Like, there's real conversations that have to happen when it comes to making a guy comfortable about what the future looks like in a place. And I think that's been a bigger challenge these days, not just for the Mets specifically at all, just in baseball. That's a bigger challenge than has been proven in the past.
Also, if you haven't picked up on the context of the conversation, Freddie Peralta is signed for 1 year. Do you guys have any thoughts on what the Mets gave up for 1 year of Freddie Peralta if it doesn't end up working out in the end of an extension?
Well, we're talking about teams who essentially, I don't know if it's a flip-flop, but one team's farm system got markedly better and one team's farm system took a hit, right? Or no, that's with the Lubob deal.
Yeah, I'm saying for Freddie, you gave up a lot for 1 year of Freddie. Like, are you, how comfortable? You must be pretty comfortable that you can make something happen financially for Freddie Peralta if you make a trade. Because I mean, like, is this realistically speaking? I think we all like what the Mets have done this winter, but are they a all-in 2026 team?
All in? No, just by virtue of how things are structured on their books, but I think this is a legitimate contending team. Yes.
Okay.
I do.
You think that they can make the playoffs this year?
I think
Yes.
I think I would be extremely tempted and maybe even pick them to win the NL East if
Wow.
I was forced to make that decision right now.
You think they're
And
better than the Phillies?
I think it is extremely close.
Did the
Close
Phillies
enough.
win 98 games? How many games did the Phillies win this year? And they're bringing back
Like-
the same
like
team. I know
90
fans are pissed
like
about that.
93, 94. I mean,
Well,
look, like, if we're talking about that division, everybody is sleeping on the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, maybe so.
The Phillies
Maybe
won
so,
96 games, Dallas.
I think the
Yeah,
Phillies.
I think if we're having a conversation about that division, like, it's easy to overlook the Atlanta Braves just because of how bad things were.
What have they
How-
done
how-
to get better this winter?
How many holes? That's the thing, dude, is did they need to do much to get better or did they just need to be healthy?
But okay, so just for the sake of argument, put the Braves aside for a second. Like, I think the Phillies are worse, definitely worse right now, entering the 2026 season than they were to end the 2025 season, or however we're viewing them coming off of, what was it, 96 wins, you said?
96 because they lost Ranger?
That is one piece. They definitely lost Ranger. They are. Has anybody seen a meaningful update on Zach Wheeler?
Well, they
recently?
didn't have Zach Wheeler to end the season anyway.
No, but they had him as a huge pursuit of those 96 wins. If we're talking about how are they going
When
to
did
get
he
there
go down?
this upcoming season?
What month was his last start of 2025? It felt like it was like the summer. Yeah.
He made 24 starts last year. He threw 149 and 2/3 innings.
Okay. So more than I would have guessed.
But anyway, I mean, I think the back 60% of their rotation is largely a question mark at this point, or various degrees of, at least certainly as much of a question mark as how the Mets rotation stands, and I think probably much more so. And I just don't like. I just don't like how the offense sets up. The more that I look at it for the 2026 season, I think it's extremely vulnerable. I don't think they're a bad team, but I think the Mets have. I think we've done a lot of podcasts over the course of the offseason, and Dallas said, patience and all that sort of stuff. We do record regularly, so there are reactions to deals or non-deals as they happen. I think now that we can look back on the Mets' entire offseason, to me, this is maybe masterful is a bit too strong, but I think David Stearns and company deserve a lot of credit for how the roster has shaken out and how the finances were invested in terms of what they're committed to long term and what they're not. And to me, I think they are definitely a more formidable team with this current roster construction, no more additions added, than they were if they had run back how last year concluded, including bringing back Alonso and Edwin Diaz. I think this is a better version of that team.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not ready to vault them over the Phillies necessarily, but I am absolutely ready to say they should absolutely have postseason on the brain. No question about it.
Yeah. I mean, like,
no
you don't do this deal for Freddie and structure this contract the way that they did for Bo if postseason isn't the goal.
Agree.
I'm just looking at it as an 83 win team last year with Alonso, with Diaz, with Nemo, with McNeil. Those guys now all gone. With the additions that they've made, considering those subtractions, what is a reasonable win total that we can expect from the 2026 Mets?
Dallas,
why is 90 games not achievable?
I need another dependable starter.
We've talked about. I mean, there's look. I've said it. I've said it multiple times. Bring Zach Gallen home. Are you a Zach Gallen away? Does Zach Gallen give you the confidence?
No, he doesn't.
Well, then what's left on the market that you think is going to move the needle outside of Fromber? If it's not Fromber and it's not Gallen.
I mean, I really wish that they were more aggressive on someone like Imai or something like that. That would have been that would have fit what they're doing right now perfectly. Because he's got the opt-out after 1 year too with Houston.
I think I'm going to go into the season thinking that they are the fourth best team in the NL on paper, behind some order of the Dodgers, Brewers, Cubs, and then Mets. I think is how I'm going to feel about it. Because I hear you on you would love another starter, and I definitely feel that way if McLean does not take a significant step forward or do what he did in a larger sample from last season. But I think I feel that way more as it relates to a postseason series rather than can they get to 90 wins and outlast some of these the Braves and the Phillies, who I agree are formidable and may end up being they're all tightly bunched together in my opinion. But I think the Mets are an improved team for sure, significantly.
They're an improved team.
I mean, it's not like they're building off of 73 wins. They're building off of 83 wins. You don't think we've found additional wins off of what?
That was 83 wins at like a kind of a gross underachievement.
Yeah, I mean, it was a plus 51 run. So yes and no. It was like plus 51 run differential. I think you could argue that they might have they should have won 80. Are you saying they should have won like 85 or 86?
Yeah, they were better than an 83 win.
So I agree. Yeah, so I agree with you. So like that to me is ammunition towards why they are reasonable to target 90 plus wins, because they're building off of, I think, a true talent foundation that's better than the 83 and 79 that they had last season. And that's not factoring in that I think that they got better than that talent foundation with the way they swapped out the parts and added people this offseason.
I think a trade around Brett Beatty for a pitcher. Obviously not a 1-for-1, but a sweeten the pot Brett Beatty headline deal for a 2 or a 3 would make me feel much better about that rotation, because they have 6 arms, but it's like what you said, Jay. Hey, like I need a big step forward from McLean this year.
Yeah,
Freddie Peralta's at the top. What's Clay Holmes going to give you? Sean Manaea need a bounce back year.
Well, Single was lights out. Single was great last year.
But how many innings is he good for?
Clay Holmes was good. Yeah, well, I think it was like 115.
But I think, but I think like as long as we're talking regular season, like I think the combo of Peterson, Holmes, Manaea, Senga, Tobias Myers, who obviously came over in the deal to the extent that they want to, use him in spot starts, like that to me is a totally viable, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or however you want to shake that out. Like, is it dominant? No, but I think the Freddie Peralta trade is just so clarifying for me in terms of how this rotation is going to make it through against some admittedly more talented overall rotations. But I think there's some real depth now that they can work with.
If Nolan McLean is a guy, I think that changes the entire perception of what the Mets are capable of doing in 2026.
Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, look, for a month and a half, right? I mean, that's 8 starts.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
It was gross.
Yeah.
Absolutely gross. But that's the big step, is sustaining that. Is that likely? Maybe not, but is a version of that or something close to that over 20 more starts, 22 more starts? Can he make 30 starts? What do you expect there? And that's where I think you have to be cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Is in a burst, kid was unbelievable. But now let's take that through the summer. Let's take that into the fall. And now what do we have? And if he answers the bell, then the arm that you're looking for, Jared,
he's already here.
That arm.
Yeah, he's already here.
He becomes that piece.
Yep.
So you no longer need, and that's why I say that's why for me, if I'm factoring in growth for Nolan McLean and I can get serviceability from Zach Gallen, then I really like where we're at. I start to feel that much better.
Did you have another thought, Jay?
Just one of the unseen winners from the Milwaukee side of this deal, potentially at least, is Patrick. What's that guy's first name? What the fuck's that guy?
Whatever, Chet. Yeah, Chad. Whatever.
One of the more underwhelming breaking news tweets I think any of us have seen this winter is the Yankees and Cody Bellinger have agreed to a 5-year deal.
Oh, sweet. Crazy. What's for lunch? Yeah,
like that felt inevitable. I think the contract length, it wouldn't have surprised me if he ended up with a little bit more than that. But, he's a friend of the program. We like Cody Bellinger here. Shout out Flonase, all that. But I think, when we were talking about like all the offers and the competition for Cody and Boris holding out and all this shit, like Cody had a fucking awesome year last year. I think sure. the narrative of Cody's career has been very up and down, very don't know what to make of it. What is it now? So like we all know how it started with the Dodgers. This kid was rookie of the year in his age 21 season with LA. And 2 years later in 2019, that's when he won the MVP award. That was the season that Christian Yelich like broke his kneecap. And if he hadn't done that, we're looking at probably a back-to-back MVP campaign for Yelly. But instead, he misses the month of September. And Bellinger goes on to an 8.7 WAR season to lead the league, and he wins his first MVP. After that, with LA, it was like, who the fuck is this guy? Obviously, it was a shortened season in 2020, but it was not good. We saw that with a multitude of players where it was like, this is not the guy that we expected to see. But then the following year, he was awful. awful. There was some injuries involved, but he was a negative 1.6 WAR in 2021 with the Dodgers. And then within a year, he would find himself, he got non-tendered. It wasn't released or whatever. I think he got non-tendered.
Correct.
Jared, you got to look at it like this. Between his rookie year and 2019, the dude was averaging 40 pumps a year, right? And when you burst onto the scene as a rookie and you hit almost 40 homers and you back that up next year with 25 plus, and then you follow
and you
that
play
year
all
up,
162.
right? And you follow that year up with hitting 47. You're thinking to yourself, my God, this is an absolute beast. The dude's on base. The dude is absolutely hammering the baseball, like 30 plus double. Like this is an animal. And then things changed drastically.
They did.
And that's where
he finished from winning his MVP. He finished out his Dodgers tenure playing 295 games, hitting 203 with a 648 OPS. It was a 76 OPS plus. That was over 3 seasons, in which, it was 56 games because of the COVID year. It was 95 games and a negative WAR in 2021. And then he played 144 games in his final season with LA. And that was not pretty either. But then he finds a home with the Chicago Cubs. And the contract situation was complex. What was it? Was it a 1-year deal? I can't even remember how this happened. Because it was 2 years with the Cubs, but it was on 2 separate contracts, right?
Well, he had an option, a player option that he, I believe, exercised for year 2 because his first year was right?
Yeah. So his first year with the Cubs, it was a 4.8 WAR. He had 307, 881 OPS, finished 10th for MVP, and everyone's like, "Man, Belly's back." But that was when the under the hood conversation was like, he's not hitting the ball hard and this and that. It was a lot of luck and the BABIP and yada yada. So how does he follow that up with a 2.2 WAR season in 2024? Hits 266, obviously a drop off from the 307. Went from a 356 on base to a 325 on base, and he went from a 525 slug to a 426 slug. So complete drop off. That's when he ends up on the doorstep of the New York Yankees. And for the longest time, he was one of those guys that just he had Yankee written all over him. He was tied to the Yankees several years before he even ended up with the Yankees. But in his age 29 season, he ends up going out there with New York, 5.1 season, his highest WAR in a single season since his MVP season in 2019. He hit 272, 334 on base, 480 slug. It's a 125 OPS plus, 25 doubles, 29 pumps, 98 RBI, and he's back. And I think part of the narrative that we talked about was he needed the Yankees and the Yankees needed him. Do his numbers look like this if it's year 3 with the Cubs? I say unequivocally no. I don't think that there's a chance that he puts up the same 2025 season if it's year 3 with the Cubs instead of year 1 with the Yankees. The ballpark, the fit, the team, it was a perfect fit for New York. It was a perfect fit for Belly, and good for him. And obviously it helps when you have Scott Boras as your agent, but he was able to turn this one season, because it has been such a mixed bag since his MVP year in 2019, which is, we're pretty far removed from that. It's been such a mixed bag. He has a great platform season, free agent season with New York. And they were like, hey, we see all the ballpark factors here. Like, let's bring him back. Like, let's do it. But I'm sure Boras is going out there and being like, I just got Bregman 5 years at age 32. Like, we're not doing a 3-piece. We're not doing anything less than what Bregman just got. And I think that's probably why I was a little surprised that it was 5 versus 7, because he's going into his age 30 season. But it ends up being a 5-year deal for Cody Bellinger. I do expect him to be really good there. Like I don't think it's like, oh, he got his bag and now he's going to go back to being like the 2.2, the 1.3 WAR player or a negative WAR player. Like I don't think we'll see that ever again. But
and I think a lot of that, Jared, also you have to factor in how healthy was he? Like when did the forearm bash from hell happen?
The 2020 playoff, NLCS.
So he works through that and he's just a different player. There's things that have to change when you start working through that, like whether it's swing change, how you're going to finish, right? And however much that may have impacted what he was doing at the plate, you can become a different player. You can become just mechanically different than what you were. And sometimes it's a long road back to a place of comfort. And we haven't seen that kind of power until a few years ago, where he almost hit 30. And now last year, 1 away from hitting 30. So to the point of the mixed bag, you're watching a guy, I think, get comfortable settling into the median between the let me put the ball in play, let me make contact. I know I've still got power. I can create leverage, maybe not to the tune of 47, 40 homers a year, but I can find a middle ground here where I can hit the ball hard. I can pick my spots and drive the ball out of the ballpark. And I can also get back to putting the ball in play, right? Because from 2023 on, he has not struck out 100 times. And those first 3 years in LA, which were a total of 17.1 WAR he posted, he struck out over 100 times each one of those years. But that MVP campaign, the 47 homers, only punched out 108 times, 95 walks. So we're talking about a guy who, in my opinion, is settling in and has continued to do so into that median between being a home run hitter that also had some swing and miss, a guy that has an innate ability to put the bat on the ball and with authority. And this is more reflective of who Cody Bellinger is at this stage in his career, at this point, at 29 years old. This is who he is. A guy that can absolutely hurt you. You make a mistake. A guy that has the ability to get on base, and he doesn't have to sacrifice an approach to do so. He's not going, you know what? If I'm going to hit 40, I'm going to have to be okay with punching out 170 times. That's not who he is.
No. Yeah, one of the least surprising updates I think we've gotten all off season. And speak a little bit more.
That's why I said there was.
What do you think the splits looked like, Dallas? The home road splits last year
for Belly?
Mm-hmm.
I would think that they're probably closer to respectable than people would think.
They're not.
No.
No, it's some Larry Walker shit for sure.
I mean, why? Look,
that's a little harsh. Come on.
All right, fine. His home OPS is not like 1,400, and his road OPS is not 600. But there's a 200 point discrepancy in the OPS versus home and road. At home, it was at Yankee Stadium, 302, 365, 554, 909 OPS versus 241, 301, 415, 715 OPS away from Yankee Stadium last year.
Yeah, that's again, I think that's why, and I tweeted it out, like there was never a better fit, and there were never a team and a player more destined to be back in the same place as Cody Bellinger and the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Like it's
I thought the Mets could have made a play there.
But I'm glad you brought up the home road splits though, because like that, I know that's like, it is funny, but it's also like, that's part of why he's such a good fit there. Right. And it's like that his swing and like the high contact, pull, loft approach, like that is uniquely tailored to this park, and that's
Correct.
like an asset that they are able to deploy, having him on the team above and beyond the defensive versatility that he brings. Like it's obvious. Yeah, the reunion was obvious, but it's such a strong fit that like that's leverage for Cody too. Like I know it feels like he was always going to go back there, but like the Yankees kind of needed him in a way that no one else really could satisfy the Yankees' needs that was on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why this is it's a place where if you were going to have a guy get back to an approach where he knows he can do damage and he knows he can pick his spots, I'm more than okay with Cody Bellinger being a little bit of a different ball player 81 games out of the year with a little bit of a different approach when that happens at Yankee Stadium. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Jay, hey, did you have any quick thoughts on Carlos Beltrán and Andrew Jones elected to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean, I think my interest lies, I guess, more in the Beltrán selection, just given that, I've been a version of an adult for his entire career, certainly the prime of his career. And like, I just felt like there was a long period of time where it didn't seem like Carlos Beltrán was going to get the respect as a player in terms of how great he was at the end of his career, and to see him get that recognition in pretty short order, all things considered, given how arduous some Hall of Fame voting paths can be, I think is encouraging. I don't really have anything to comment as it relates to the why he lost his managerial job with the Mets, but I do have some nugs, if you wouldn't mind. Is
Please.
now an okay time? Yeah. So from 01 to 09, which was a span of 9 seasons in terms of measuring peak value, Beltrán ranked 4th among all position players in F-WAR and 5th if you look at B-WAR, so there's not a huge discrepancy. And the only players that he was behind over that stretch were Pujols, A-Rod, Bonds, and Ichiro. So literally, the inner circle of great players from that era. He also racked up more than 200 homers and 200 steals over that same 9-season span. He was one of only 2 players to do so. Soriano was the other. In his career, he achieved at least 400 homers, 300 stolen bases, 500 doubles, and 75 triples. Talk about a broad base of offensive skills. The list of players that has done those numbers includes just Bonds, Willie Mays, and Andre Dawson. He also has the highest career stolen base success rate for any player with at least 300 career steals. Extremely efficient on the base paths. That's 86.4%. Wins above replacement. He's one of only 6 outfielders to debut in the last 40 years to put up 70 or more B-WAR. The other 5 are Bonds, Trout, Griffey, Mookie, and Larry Walker. And his postseason success is well documented, but to reiterate, his 1.021 OPS is the highest of the 110 batters to rack up at least 200 career plate appearances in the postseason. So, no question. And the other part that's not really a nug necessarily, but more historical context, center field is like really, really underrepresented in the Hall of Fame, particularly in any version of a modern era that you would consider. And I believe I saw outside of DH, it's the least represented individual position in the Hall of Fame. Starting pitching, obviously, being number 1, but that feels counterintuitive to how baseball is valued, how players are valued, how we view the game in a traditional or modern sense. So to see 2 center fielders get in, 2 elite defensive center fielders, certainly in their primes, one who would make a case as the greatest of all time, certainly greatest in the last few decades, that to me makes this Hall of Fame what I think a lot of people view this as an underwhelming Hall of Fame class to some degree. I think it's historically pretty significant and important. So that's what makes it exciting for me.
Yeah, I would say that this is a very, very significant Hall of Fame class. For that fact right there, the fact that a guy like Jeff Kent goes in, like I think it's a Hall of Fame class that shines the light on just how important each player was, not only to their team, but to their era. And I mean, the Atlanta Braves, they just keep stacking Hall of Famers on that squad, man.
Yeah, I mean, they have to represent an era of Major League Baseball where they were the main character. And Andrew Jones was a big part of why that was. And obviously, like, Ted Turner has a lot to do with it, having owned TBS and whatnot. But during those 90s seasons, there were plenty of, I know people around here that are Braves fans because Andrew Jones was cool. They loved watching Chipper, and those Braves team won. And they had Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz, and those guys are all Hall of Famers now, all of them. So, and deservedly so. But yeah, like I know people that they grew up around here in Boston. Obviously, the Red Sox are quite a big deal around these parts, but they're Braves fans because they got to watch them on TV and watch guys like Andrew Jones win a Gold Glove for a decade straight. Like, not many guys are rolling out of bed and doing that. So yeah, now it feels like the 90s Braves are correctly represented in Cooperstown. It would have felt weird if all those other guys got in, but not AJ.
Yeah.
Man. It's crazy. So Jones, Beltrán, Puckett, and Griffey are the only center fielders to be elected since 1981. So that encompasses all of our lives. Those are the only 4 center fielders to make it into the Hall of Fame. That feels not correct.
Yeah, because center fielders are usually the most talented.
I mean, that's literally one a decade. What is that?
Who's egregiously missing?
It's a good question.
Yeah, who do you think belongs?
I mean, statistically, if we're just going to, not that this, I think, should be the sole judge of it, but I know that Jim Edmonds is going to come up as a pretty highly regarded statistical case for the Hall of Fame. Let's hold on. Well,
what about your boy who used to run around out there in Cleveland, homie?
Oh, Kenny Lofton for sure.
He absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame.
I absolutely think Kenny Lofton should be in the Hall of Fame. So in terms of eligible players, Trout is obviously ineligible, so he doesn't count. Center field wins above replacement since 1981. Trout, Griffey, Beltrán, okay, those are all taken care of. Kenny Lofton, Andrew Jones just got taken care of. Jim Edmonds, Johnny Damon, Robin Yount in the Hall of Fame. Kirby Puckett, obviously Yount's defensive situation is a little complicated, but Kirby Puckett in the Hall of Fame. Torrey Hunter, Ellis Burks.
People were the Torrey Hunt, the calls for Torrey Hunter being in the Hall of Fame got louder with this last class.
Bernie Williams, Andrew McCutchen. That takes us through, and then Curtis Granderson, shout out, former guest on the pod. That takes us through the top 15 center fielders by wins above replacement since 1981. I think that really highlights Kenny Lofton's case, if we're being honest.
Yeah. What's his career WAR? It's like well above
68.4 by B-WAR.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fractionally behind Carlos Beltrán. Like, it's not, they got there in different ways, but it's
yeah, that's fine. But that's the value of a player.
Yes.
That's, you know, this is how I impacted the team. This is how I impacted the game. I will always remember, like, it was one of the most badass responses to a question because you just don't even, like, if you think about this happening on a baseball field, you're saying to yourself, well, that could never happen. And when it was like, he was asked, Kenny Lofton was asked, if you could do something on the baseball field that's never been done before, what would it be? And he said, I want to steal 2 bases on the same pitch. That's how fast I think I can be. And I was just, I think I was like 16. I was just like, what? Like, is it, like, do you think you could do that? like, fuck, I think he might be able to do that. and that just, I mean, just an absolute animal, man, an animal. Later in his career, not afraid to bitch about a bad call either. I'll tell you that. Not afraid to bitch about a bad call. I squared off against him when he was in Texas, and no likey the heater in, no likey the heater in.
Do we want to do the redraft on Monday?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Give you fools a chance.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Baseball is Dead Family Feud. I'm your man now and forever, Justin Havens. As always, shout out to the BID Discord.
Shout them out.
Yep, the fuel for these results. And I'm very happy to announce one of my brothers got in the Family Feud responses in time for the first time in the history of Family Feud because they fill up in less than a minute. He got in. He was very happy with himself. So he is one of the 100 answers that we will be getting. Shout out, Brandon. I'm personally very excited about this batch of questions. I think the results that we got it set us up for a very nice Family Feud. Are you guys excited?
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I
ecstatic.
Yeah,
I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Dallas batting leadoff today. Jared closing us out.
Okay. Good luck.
You guys obviously coming off, I think it was damn near 300 points last time. So riding high, feeling
big
good.
winners. Big winners.
All right. DB, you feeling good? You ready?
Sure.
You got a 21 sweatshirt on, I see. Let's aim for more total points overall. Certainly.
Let's see what I can do.
All right. As always, it's out of 100. Here we go. Question number 1. Cody Bellinger and Alex Bregman are signed for a combined 10 seasons. How many combined All-Star selections will they have over these 5-year contracts? Total All-Star selections we're looking for.
4.
Question number 2. Pete Alonso, Bo Bichette, Alex Bregman, Cody Bellinger. Which of these 4 players will produce the highest WAR total for the 2026 season?
Alex Bregman.
Play into the crowd. Smart man. He's learned something over these feud years. Question 3. Buster Posey will be elected to the Hall of Fame next year, and Yadier Molina the year after that. Joe Mauer was elected in 2024, giving us 3 catchers who will be elected in the span of about half a decade. Order those 3 catchers from best to worst in their MLB careers.
Oh my God. Posey, Mauer, and who? Yachty?
Yeah. Best to worst.
Best to worst. Buster Yachty Mauer.
Question 4. Including pitchers, where will Kyle... You don't have to name anybody.
Okay.
Including pitchers, where will Kyle Tucker rank on the 2026 Dodgers in terms of F-WAR next season? It's a tough question, I realize, but...
6th.
It's fucked. That's fucked up, man. That is so fucked up. Question 5. What fruit do you most want to see Jared consume as part of his new regimen?
Kiwi.
Holy shit. All right, Jared, pop those. Oh, he just looked at me and I didn't get my ears up in time.
Jared! Ah!
Let's see here.
Hello.
Hey, how we doing?
We're doing great.
Good. So just tallying up a quick little thing for our friend DB here, just so I have a sense. Do you want to know his total or?
I would like to know if he is sub 100.
He is north of 100.
Okay. It's good to know. Good job, Dallas.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am.
As always, it's out of 100.
Okay.
Question number 1. Cody Bellinger and Alex Bregman are signed for a combined 10 seasons. How many combined all-star selections will they have over these contracts?
3.
Pete Alonso, Bo Bichette, Alex Bregman, and Cody Bellinger. Which of these 4 players will produce the highest WAR total for the 2026 season?
Was Bichette in there?
Yes, he was.
Bregman.
Eh.
Fuck! Pete Alonso.
Question 3. Buster Posey will be elected to the Hall of Fame next year, and Yadier Molina the year after that. Joe Mauer was elected in 2024, giving us 3 catchers who will be elected in the span of about half a decade. Order those 3 catchers from best to worst in their MLB careers. This is an opinion question, so best to worst.
Man. Buster's got the MVP. Mauer also has one in 09. Yachty never won one. Buster, shorter career. Mauer moved positions. Yachty never did. Yachty, Mauer. No. Mauer, Yachty, Buster.
Wow.
Okay. Question 4. Including pitchers, where will Kyle Tucker rank on the 2026 Dodgers in terms of F-WAR next season?
Ooh. He's not beating Shohei. He's not beating Mookie. Freddie, he could be. Let's go. Let's go 4th.
And question 5. What fruit do you most want to see Jared consume as part of his new regimen?
There's no options?
No.
No. See, it's a weasel move right there by Jay.
Yeah.
That is. That's a weasel move.
Yeah. What fruit do I think the people want to see me eat?
That's right.
That's right. My mind immediately goes to pineapple.
Okay. All right, let's add it up, folks. Let's see what we got here.
The catcher one was fucking hard.
Oh, yeah.
I
don't
Buster,
know what the right answer is.
Yachty, Mauer.
So I had it opposite. I flipped it upside down.
Here we go.
Buster.
Last,
I held longevity against Buster.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll find out whether it was held against you guys. Question number 1. Cody Bellinger and Alex Bregman are signed for a combined 10 seasons. How many all-star appearance selections will they have over these contracts? Dallas said 4. That was the number 1 overall answer. 32 points right out of the gate. Jared said 3. That was the number 2 overall answer. 26 points. So you guys combined for a quick 58 out of just question 1. For what it's worth, 2 and 5 were the other answers that would have yielded double digits. Question 2, Alonso, Bichette, Bregman, and Bellinger, which of these 4 players will produce the highest WAR total next season? Dallas played to the hometown crowd. He selected Bregman. That was the number 2 overall answer for a robust 33 points, bringing you guys up to 81 so far. Jared said Pete Alonso after asking whether Bo Bichette was available, which is a curious turn of events. Alonso, 17 points, the third most common answer, unfortunately, which gives you 98 points. Bo Bichette was the number one answer, 36. Bellinger, the last, with 14. Maybe a little hometown bias going on there. Buster Posey will be elected to the Hall of Fame next year. You know what? It's 108, not 98. 108 is the correct answer.
Pencil whipping already.
No, I'm checking myself as we go. Question 3. Buster Posey will be elected to the Hall of Fame. Yachty will be elected to the Hall of Fame. Mauer. Order those 3. Dallas said Posey, Molina, Mauer. Posey, Molina, Mauer. That was the second most common answer. That yielded 25 points. So we're up to 133 with that one right there. Jared went Mauer, Molina, Posey. That was a less popular answer. That was only 7 points to bring you guys up to 140 points.
Fucking longevity.
The two most popular answers both started with Posey as the number one. Posey, Mauer, Molina was the number one overall answer with 27, and then Dallas's Posey, Molina, Mauer. Molina, Posey, Mauer would have yielded 20, and Mauer, Posey, Molina would have gotten 18. The worst answer was Molina, Mauer, Posey, which feels correct as the worst answer, but that would have gotten you 3 points. Anyway, 140 with 2 questions remaining. So you guys need 60 points out of the final 2 questions. Feels doable, but we'll see whether
not with that last fucking question.
Yeah, not with the last question, Dick. I know what you're up to.
Oh gosh. Including pitchers, where will Kyle Tucker rank on the 2026 Dodgers? Dallas said 6th. That was the second most common answer. That was 19 points. You're well on your way to getting those 60. Jared said 4th. He was waffling between 3rd and 4th. It'll be interesting to see whether this difference comes back to be pivotal. But he went the right way, folks. He went 4th and got 16 more points. That was the 3rd most common answer. So that's 35 more points. So you guys are up to 175.
You better hope people are dying to see me eat some pineapple.
You guys need
such an asshole.
You guys need 25 points out of the last question.
He already knows we don't have enough points.
You did leave the number one answer on the board, which was 5th. Tough question, but 5th would have gotten you 25 points. If Jared had gone the other way and picked 3rd, though, he would have cost you guys 9 points because 3rd only yielded 7. Anywho, 25 points, 1 question remaining. All right, what fruit do you most want to see Jared consume as part of his new regimen? 175 is your point total, which means you need 25 total points. Dallas somehow said kiwi as his answer. No hesitation really at all.
We lost.
The number one overall answer, 18 points on its own. The number one answer by far, by the way, double the next closest. I'm just going to say that, okay?
Kiwi?
Kiwi.
Let's go.
Watch the tape. I think I said, "Are you serious?" After he said it, I gave away that he got the good answer. Kiwi, 18 points, number one overall answer, which means that you guys need 7 fucking points.
Come on, Jared.
Out of pineapple.
We
7
should have
points.
said banana.
I swear to God, I'm not making up these numbers.
We got 6 points.
Pineapple was worth 7 points on the dot.
Victory! That's right. You fruit bag. That's exactly what you get. Exactly what you get.
The 4th most common answer, mango and dragon fruit, tied for 2nd with 9. Pineapple 7. There were no other winning paths here for you guys on this last question. If you guys had pivoted to banana, you would have lost. That was only 5 points.
Wow.
You would have come up 2 points short. So kiwi pineapple was the secret code to unlock the last question, and you guys somehow fucking got there. That's crazy.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
That is just that's one of my favorite kiss my ass moments.
200 points on the dot. Wow.
Because I know exactly what you were thinking. I know exactly what you were thinking when you were drawing this up is, we'll give them a chance until the end, and then they'll have no chance.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Pull.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Well, my own little rug pull.
Speaking of fruit, how about them apples? You like that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Kiwi and pineapple. We'll never forget.
We'll never forget kiwi and pineapple. I've been eating pineapple. Pineapple's part of the diet.
Yeah, I feel like you're sort of morally obligated to try kiwi now over the weekend.
I'll give it a shot.
I don't love kiwi personally, but it is pretty inoffensive. So I don't think it's going to be that.
Kiwi. I love all fruits, man.
Well, it's good. It's a good thing you followed your heart. I would rank kiwi pretty damn low on my list of
the reason, and this is what the discourse was thinking too, is texture. That's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a little, little mushy at times. It can be.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I know folks would love to see Jared deep throat a banana.
Jesus.
How good can you be? MVP.
It's my pleasure to announce this year's NL Cy Young Award winner. My Cy Young Award winner.
Wow, it's a legendary year to be doing this. We have the 1975 Cy Young, which features two of the greatest pitchers of their era. In the case of Tom Seaver, you could argue one of the greatest pitchers in modern baseball history, I think. People certainly do make that argument. 106.1 career wins above replacement for Tom Seaver in just shy of 4,800 career innings. So in this case, we are talking 2 3-time Cy Young Award winners. So, there's going to be some historical significance, some weight if I decide to take away these Cy Young Awards. In the NL, which is where we're going to start, because it is a much more straightforward case and will just kind of allow us to celebrate one of the greatest pitchers of all time. It's Tom Seaver. He received 15 of 24 first-place votes, so there seemed to be some sort of statistical confusion as to what might have been going on this year. I think that's in large part due to the fact that, as it sometimes is in these votes, one of these pesky relievers who got these newfangled saves shows up in the rankings with 22 saves. The guy who finished in third place, not any sort of serious threat to a prime Tom Seaver season. And then Randy Jones out in San Diego led the NL in ERA. He was 0.14 ahead of Tom Seaver, and was basically equal to Tom Seaver in innings pitched. And WAR was similar, but Tom Seaver's dominance level was on a completely different place than Randy Jones. Tom Seaver, again, led the NL in wins with 22 and strikeouts with 243. He was third in the NL in ERA, third in innings pitched, and had the best K- walk percentage in the league, to the extent that anybody was paying attention to that kind of stuff. Obviously not that stat specifically, but strikeouts and walks have always been important, of course. What does WAR say about Tom Seaver's 1975 season? He led Major League Baseball in F-WAR at 7.8. He led the NL in B-WAR at 7.8. So there is pretty clear consensus as to what type of season Tom Seaver had in 1978, and it was a league-leading one. It was a class. It was not, however, in a class of its own as far as Tom Seaver's own career went, because if you look at what Tom Seaver had done in the 8 seasons leading up to his 1975 Cy Young, he had posted an average of a 2.47 ERA in 271 innings pitched per season and 7.3 wins above replacement per season. So in a lot of ways, 1975 was like definitionally par for the course as far as Tom Seaver goes. The years that he won the Cy Young Award were not even necessarily his greatest seasons. He won his Cy Youngs in 1969, 1973, and 1975. So, yes, this was the last of Tom Seaver's Cy Youngs. But, for example, in 1971, he put up a 1.76 ERA with more than a strikeout per inning pitched. I know that does not sound like a lot right now. It was an enormous number at the time, 9.1 K per nine, led Major League Baseball at the time. That was 10.2 wins above replacement per BWAR. He would put up a 10.6 mark in 1973 with a 2.08 ERA. Overall, for Tom Seaver, if you're talking about what his extended prime looked like, and again, like you could extend this even further if you were inclined to, but Tom Seaver, through the first 11 seasons of his career, age 22 to age 32, averaged a 2.48 ERA and north of 7 wins above replacement per season. Cumulatively, that was nearly 3,000 innings pitched and 2,500 strikeouts. He was obviously incredibly durable, so that's part of what made him great. And the back end of his career featured a lot of seasons that would be the primes of any number of other pitchers, but obviously the first decade of his career was so great. There is, in my opinion, no real case to be made for no serious case to be made for anybody else in the NL this season. Randy Jones obviously has a nice ERA, but I know strikeouts weren't necessarily as valued or as glorified as they are right now, but Tom Seaver struck out 243 batters and Randy Jones struck out 103 batters. Like, it's just, they were operating on different planes of individual dominance. And to me, 0.14 in ERA and 4 2/3 innings pitched simply does not outweigh, in a sense, doing it all by yourself, regardless of the defense. Yeah. What do you got for Tom?
There were only four guys, Jay, between all of the Cy Young vote recipients that had north of 200 strikeouts.
Yeah. Yeah. So important context that like 243 is a fucking insane number. And you know, it wasn't insane by the context of Tom Seaver's career, but certainly was insane by the context of pretty much anybody else's. Also worth noting that both of these guys, Tom Seaver and Jim Palmer, who we'll get to in a few minutes, are one of a very select group of people to have won 3 Cy Young Awards. Sandy Koufax, Tom Seaver, Jim Palmer, Pedro Martinez, Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Steve Carlton, Greg Maddux, and Randy Johnson, and then obviously Roger Clemens, number 1, are the only examples of pitchers to win 3 or more in baseball history. That, as a side note, is, I think, part of the reason why I constantly go back time and time again to the fact that the 3 of us and many of the listeners here have witnessed the greatest run of starting pitching that has ever existed in Major League Baseball history, with what we got to witness in, you know, I guess in the late 80s, but really in the 90s, 2000s, and up through the primes of the Verlander, Kershaw, Scherzer era. I don't think that's coincidental that the Cy Youngs have belonged to so many players from this era, even if it didn't always exist. But Seaver and Palmer are 2 of those guys. Seaver keeps his. Do we have any objections? Do we have any thoughts on Tom Seaver or him keeping his Cy Young Award?
No, 0 objections. Just utter dominance. Utter dominance.
Yeah, I mean, the field wasn't superimposing like Randy Jones, I guess, but like,
that's a close race. That's a very close race. Like
it is, but like, all right, so like Seaver pitched 280 in the 3rd innings and he led the league with 243 strikeouts. Randy Jones won the ERA title with a 2.24 ERA to Seaver's 2.38, but he struck out like 150 less batters than Seaver. He struck out 103 batters in 285 innings.
Yeah, no, I mean, in my opinion, so there's 2 numbers at play. because I always go back to, we're talking about an era still where, like, the counting stats, the bigger numbers mattered so much. And all right, so both of these guys are essentially finishing half the ball games that they're starting. Tom Seaver, 15 CGs. 5 of those were shutouts. Randy Jones, 18 complete games. 6 of those were shutouts. 5 1/3 innings separates their entire body of work. One guy had 20 wins. That's Randy. Nice round number. Tom Seaver had 2 more wins, and he did not have double-digit losses. So we know that win-loss heavily weighed in the decision-making there. And then you shift over to the astronomical chasm between he and Randy Jones when it comes to strikeouts. Like you said, Jared, damn near 150, 243 strikeouts. That is a large, eye-popping number. It led the league, and that matters. That matters. So those, in my opinion, are the 2 points that heavily sway it, especially when the dominance factor is what it is and means what it means to a team's success, especially to an individual pitching success. And when the body of work is, negligible in terms of 5 1/3 innings, all right, well, what else happened, right? Did not surrender as many hits, punched out a world more people, didn't allow the same damage. So, yeah, I think for all the right reasons, Tom Seaver is your winner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the AL is a little bit more interesting in the sense that there's, I think, some competition for the award, despite the fact
Robbery!
Robbery! Whoa. I know where you're going, and I'm not even sure we're going to end up at the same place there, friends. So just take it easy, all right? Just take it easy.
Oh, you going Goose? You go.
No, I'm not. Jim Palmer, obviously, to pay some respects here. 15 of 24 first-place votes. He led Major League Baseball in ERA, shutouts, and wins in this season. So we're not talking, and I'm not even saying Jim Palmer's losing his Cy Young, but we're certainly not talking about some sort of slapdick season here.
God, no.
Second in Major League Baseball and in the AL in innings pitched. This was his second career Cy Young Award. He would win 3 total in his career, as has been mentioned. He won 2 years prior in 1973. He would win in 1975 and then defend it the following season in 1976. In his career, he would have 4 other top 5 finishes. So there's, again, Jim Palmer, not exactly a name that everybody needs refreshing on, but there was a run here where Jim Palmer was self-evidently one of the greatest pitchers in the game. All of his Cy Youngs occurred over a condensed period, as I said, and all of his Cy Young finishes in terms of years where he even registered votes all happened between 1970 and 1978. So that's where the greatness happened. This was, and why I think it's interesting. So just as a quick aside, over those 9 seasons, he put up an average of a 2.54 ERA in just under 290 innings pitched per season, just shy of 6 wins above a replacement per season. To contrast with Seaver over in the NL, though, quickly, and to contrast with at least one of the people that he'll be competing with to keep his Cy Young, Palmer did not have the swing and miss dominance that Tom Seaver did. Jim Palmer never once in his career led the league in the AL or Major League Baseball in strikeouts, but he did lead the AL 4 times in innings pitched. And in fact, this season, again, his second of 3 Cy Youngs, was the best season of his career by BWAR, 8.4, ERA, 2.09, at least in his, second best year by ERA, and most innings pitched in a single season of his career at 323, which oddly is funny because it is not one of the years that he led the AL in innings pitched. It was one of 4 seasons where he would top 300 or more innings pitched in his career. But in a lot of ways, you could argue that this was the greatest season that Jim Palmer ever produced. What does wins above replacement say about this? That's where it becomes at least a little bit of a debate, certainly, and the other stats bring it into some focus as well. Catfish was fractionally behind. As I said, Palmer led the Major League Baseball.
Fractionally.
Palmer led Major League Baseball in B-WAR. So that's the headline. Led it in B-WAR, 8.4. That's certainly part of the case for him. Catfish Hunter was fractionally behind him in B-WAR with 8.1 on the strength of leading Major League Baseball in innings pitched this season and the AL. Jim Kitty Cott was at 7.7, and Frank Tanana was fractionally behind that at 7.4. So I think you can say that B-WAR does not provide overwhelming clarity as it relates to who was the best. It certainly creates a group of people to pick from. Palmer was third in the AL in F-WAR, this time behind Tanana and Gaylord Perry, who was traded midseason and thus got basically no support at all for the Cy Young Award, which is kind of a quirk of just how it goes sometimes. But what I think is interesting here is the comparison, kind of three-way comparison between Catfish Hunter, Jim Palmer, and Frank Tanana, because I think you could very easily just give it to Jim Palmer and kind of call it a day and say that he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time, certainly one of the greatest pitchers of his era, and just kind of be done with it. But I think there is some nuance under the hood here. Frank Tanana had a dominance level in terms of swing and miss that is much more aligned with what Tom Seaver was doing in the NL than what either of these other guys, Hunter or Palmer, were doing in the AL. Tanana had 269 strikeouts to 193 and 177 for the other two. But what makes that also such a glaring difference is that he had 70 or 90 more strikeouts than the other two guys while throwing 80 fewer innings than those other two guys. Both Palmer and Catfish were, as we said, up near in the 320s. Tanana only threw 257 innings. The case for Catfish and for Palmer, I think, is extremely similar. They have very similar innings pitch totals. They have very similar strikeout marks. They have very similar, really any stat that you want to pull out, whip, wins above replacement, all that sort of stuff. Even wins and losses ended up being very similar. The biggest statistical edge, I think, really ends up being Palmer's edge in ERA to Catfish's 2.58 to 2.09. And, while ERA is certainly a questionable thing to hang your entire hat on for the Cy Young, there is really nothing about the underlying supporting stats for ERA, like FIP or xERA, that would push you in Catfish's favor, in my opinion. In fact, Palmer's FIP, to the extent that anybody gives a fuck, in 1975, was about 40 points better than Hunter's. So to me, respectfully, I'm putting Catfish Hunter aside in this conversation momentarily, and I think it really becomes a Jim Palmer, Frank Tanana conversation, and sort of what flavor did you prefer? And while I am extremely tempted to give the award to Frank Tanana because my personal viewing era and preference. What are you saying?
Good Lord is what I said. Good Lord.
While I would be extremely tempted to do that based on the fact that what I'm accustomed to is seeing a guy strike out 269 batters for every 257 innings he might throw, I can't simply ignore the fact that Jim Palmer threw about 80 more innings than Frank Tanana. And that, to me, at a lower ERA with similar underlying supporting ERA stats, means that Jim Palmer is going to end up keeping his second Cy Young over the feisty 21-year-old Frank Tanana, by the way, who had burst onto the scene the year prior in 1974 and announced himself. And this would be the year that Tanana led Major League Baseball in strikeouts. It's the only year he would do that. He would have 3 more seasons after this, or 3 seasons total, rather, where he gained Cy Young votes. Kind of an interesting pet Hall of Fame case that I don't think gets very far. But if in terms of peak value, what Frank Tanana was doing from 1975 to 77, top of the league stuff. But Jim Palmer's keeping it. What do you guys think?
I think you're delusional for eliminating Catfish Hunter from that conversation. On a serious note, one of the biggest sticking points for me between your argument for Frank Tanana, sure,
Yeah.
the dominance, the punch outs, that's fantastic. But we're also talking about an era in which starting ball games and finishing ball games mattered, and it mattered a lot. And between Jim Palmer and Catfish Hunter, both guys just 1 or 2 starts away from having made 40 starts that year. Catfish Hunter had 30 complete games. 30.
Jim Palmer had 25
games. I know. I get it. And 10 of those 25 were shutouts, Jared.
Right.
Right? And so you go down to Frank Tanana, who quite literally finished just under half the ball games that Catfish did and had 5 shutouts. All right, Catfish had 7. But we're talking about 30 complete games. The body of work, the importance of being able to preserve whatever existence of a bullpen you had back then. And, I mean, look, you got, Catfish, like, that's the thing is this dude, and I mean, I know that I've had it drilled into my head by our greats of our organization of just what kind of animal Catfish was. But, I mean, you want to talk about a run, Jay. That was a 4-year run for Catfish where he had 4 top 5 Cy Young finishes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. He finished. He won it in 74, second in 75, and then in 72 and 73 was 4th and 3rd respectively. But just an incredible body of work in totality, and especially over that 4-year period. Just dominance.
One more thing on Jim Palmer. I know the Red Sox won the pennant, so and the Orioles finished second, so in a sense, maybe for not. But Jim Palmer went 5 2/3 innings in a start on August 1st, 1975. Very disappointing start, obviously not what he was looking for. 4 earned runs. Orioles would win the game, but not by his standards. Here are his innings pitch totals for his final 14 starts of that season.
9,
8 2/3, 9, 9, 12, 8, 9, 10, 9, 9, 8, 7, 9, 9. Finishing with a 9-inning shutout, 3-0 at Yankee Stadium to end the season.
My arm just started to throw.
125 2/3 innings pitched from August 5th on.
Silly. Just absolutely silly.
Anywho, congrats to the 2 legends for making it through the gauntlet.
All right. Final thoughts, Dallas?
Just circling back, a tip of the cap to 2 new members of the Hall of Fame, Carlos Beltrán and Andrew Jones. It's just always such a cool day. I watched every second of the programming on MLB Network, acknowledging their careers, what they meant to their teams, what they meant to the eras that they were a part of. And, it's always fun to watch that. I'm not going to call it an exercise, but because I believe it's a privilege to be able to take in that kind of appreciation for what these guys have achieved on the baseball field and what that means in the pantheon of our game, like who they are. And I think it'll be interesting. I'll ask you guys a quick question. Which hat do you got Carlos rocking on the bust?
Mets.
Yeah,
I think it's decided.
Was it decided already?
I think
so.
The heavy speculation or decision. Yeah, Mets.
Yeah, I didn't know that anything was official yet.
Yeah, but White Sox for Andrew Jones and Mets for Beltrán.
Texas could be in there for Andrew as well.
It's true. Jay, final thoughts?
Check out the Sal Frelick interview from earlier this week if you haven't.
It is a good one.
Hope everybody has a nice weekend.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back here on Monday with more Baseball is Dead, more reactions. And I don't really think that there's any emergency pods left at this point.
No.
Probably not.
Fromber, not necessarily emergency worthy.
No. So, all right, we'll break everything down on Monday. See you then.
We out.